Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus Munger, and this is my presentation on my leadership style. All right, so the leadership style that came up for me is the democratic leadership style. This is also known as the participative leadership style. Basically, what this means is that I seek out and value the input of other team members when trying to solve problems and come to a decision. So it's a very collaborative uh, and team-based type of leadership style. I'm always looking for the opinions of others and trying to implement because I feel like everybody has a somewhat valid opinion to where, they bring a good perspective to the table. Um, this leadership style works best in an environment where all team members understand their roles and, more importantly, the overall goal or objectives of the group or organization. Um, Basically just means it's easier to drive people to want to do their work, and sort of have a relative passion or a work ethic in order to achieve the goal if they understand the overall and want to and support the overall goal of the organization. Do I agree or disagree? Um, I would say that I agree for the most part, that this leadership style fits me. I work as a supervisor at Starbucks, and the way this plays out is I always try to take into account of what the baristas are saying and their suggestions. They're the ones on the floor with us. They're the ones making drinks, and they're in the trenches with us basically when we're going through all of our crazy rushes and all of that. So um, I value their opinions, on all the little things that we can control within our environment, essentially. Um, I also agree because my main goal with our baristas, and also just kind of like what they want us to do as supervisors is create an environment for our stores, right? We're all about creating the cafe environment, the coffee house environment. So I just try to really try to communicate this goal to the baristas, and really try to get them to buy into it so that, and then from there they can make their own decisions and be creative and interpret how they would want to accomplish it and do it in their own way, really. Um, that kind of helps create a sort of a diverse way of completing the same goal, you know what I mean? Similar to like the strategic ambiguity from a couple of chapters ago. So yeah. Um, However, although this is ideal, it is not completely true for the current position. As a supervisor at Starbucks, I'm not always able to take the feedback of the baristas and input it into decision making, simply because we're so standardized. We just have a lot of guidelines on exactly how they want us to do things. So So in order to do that, there's just not many kind of decisions that personally I can influence. So with that, there's not many decisions that the baristas can help me with, in terms of like a management level, I guess, decision. Um, but we this more so applies to all the little decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis. All right, a couple of concepts or the main idea, the main concept from chapter 7, from the supervisor subordinate communication section that relates to democratic leadership, in my opinion, is open communication relationships. Um, the book defines this as a relationship between supervisor and subordinates where both parties are willing to communicate openly, honestly, clearly, and candidly. We want to be honest, both ways, and just create an environment where that honesty is appreciated and implemented into everything that we do. Um, and a big part of this too is maintaining positive relationships with my subordinates and just making it positive, but also being honest to where we feel like, the honesty doesn't have to be a negative thing, even if the situation is negative, you know what I mean? But the communicating the honesty in and of itself is a positive thing. Um, so that's what I try to preach, at least at my store. Yeah, again, yeah, try to create a culture of transparency is the deal, is the idea. All right. The main potential barrier with this one is the concept of groupthink. Um, the main, so this is defined as a when the group's desire for consensus, conformity, and harmony results in poor decision making. So when everyone is simply just trying to be, I guess, you could take that positivity a little too far and just try to maintain too much of a harmonious environment, where everybody conforms, everybody's coming to a consensus. But this can lead to poor decision making and you know, um, just the decisions that aren't best for the business, especially in the moment. Um, but again, I try to prevent this with open communication. I think open communication is um, a concept as well that can help eliminate and reduce groupthink as much as possible. Because, if you're honest, the more honesty you have, you can't really, that limits group thinking because you're not too focused on um, just trying to go with the group, just trying to conform, you have the the right to sort of to value, to speak your opinion and we'll value it. And yeah. All right. So in conclusion, my leadership style is the democratic style. I focus on team participation and collaboration in order to achieve our goals. Um, I try to make the overall goal clear about the environment that we're trying to create, and I try to get our subordinates to buy in to the concept of that main goal, so that we're all connected to the same purpose. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Hope you all have a wonderful day. I'm on my pause the recording. How do I just stop the meeting to save it?
And then it'll down. That'd be great. Okay, thanks everyone, good work. I know I don't need to say it, let's try to stay on top of it. Schedule.